everyone. Today I'm going to go over some exercises to implement if you have a tight piriformis. So, having a tight piriformis, you may have symptoms such as pain in your glute, maybe down to the back part of your leg and your hamstring. You may feel some pain or tightness there. Sometimes, if the piriformis becomes the attachment site is near the sciatic nerve, so you may present similar symptoms to sciatica. And if the piriformis becomes inflamed or too tight, you may eventually get sciatica. So it's very important to take care of the piriformis. It's often an understretched and underutilized muscle, especially when you spend a lot of your day seated. Also, if it's overused, a lot of hip rotation, so running, long periods of running, it can become overused, especially if you don't stretch it, you may start to feel pain in the back part of that leg. So I'm going to go over some stretches, like a corrective exercises that you can do for the piriformis. First, always with corrective exercise, we start with foam rolling. So the first type of foam rolling we're going to do is for the piriformis directly. So what you're going to do is sit down on your foam roller. You take one leg, cross it over the other one, and you're going to foam roll right in the back part of your hip, so not on your hip, but right above it. It's kind of the top part of your bottom. When you're foam rolling, when you feel like any bit of tingling, like pressure or a little bit, it's kind of painful, not very painful, but a little bit of pain, you're going to hold it over that spot for around 15 to 30 seconds. So just hold it there. This pressure on those little, we call them trigger points, is usually just wound up muscle that needs to be relieved. So it's good to hold the position where you start to feel a little bit of pain, and then you can kind of roll over it till you get to your bottom, right by your hip muscle, by your hip bone, and then back over to the top part of your bottom. And then, of course, you would switch legs, have the other side over, and you kind of tilt yourself so that you can apply more pressure to that hip. We really want to work on getting the knots out of the muscle before we start stretching it. So it's good to always start with a little bit of foam rolling before you move to the stretching, because the muscle is tightly wound and we want to kind of release those trigger points before we try and lengthen the muscle. Alright, so once that area feels good, you can flip on over on your side, and we're going to roll out the IT band. Starting right below that hip bone. When you're foam rolling, you never want to roll directly on a joint. So you go right below, and you just take it down the side of your leg. It's that IT band. It's not a muscle, it's more connective tissue on the outside of your leg. But it does need to be foam rolled as well. Again, stopping where you feel a little bit of pain. 15 to 30 seconds. And then rolling it out down the leg. And then, of course, switching sides. Getting that other leg. You'll find those little areas, you'll definitely feel it, and that's where you want to stop. Alright, and then last area you want to foam roll is the quad. Generally overactive if you have a tight piriformis, so it's good to inhibit it with this foam rolling. So you can either start by your knees or by your hip, whatever you like the best. I like to start at my hip. And then what you do is kind of creep yourself forward. Make sure you're squeezing your belly. Protect that low back. You just bring the foam roller up and over those quads. Again, stopping in those little painful areas. The pain shouldn't be above a 5 or a 6, okay? If it's above a 5 or a 6, you don't want to foam roll. Probably go seek medical attention if you're having a lot of pain. Should be just slightly uncomfortable. So help increase blood flow to this muscle tissue. Alright, so that's the foam rolling portion. Next we're going to move on to stretching. So first you foam roll, get those knots out, and then we move on to stretch. So first stretch directly for the piriformis is a figure 4 stretch. You're going to lay on your back. Same way when we stretch that piriformis on the foam roller, you take one foot across, put the ankle right below the other knee. And you take your hands, bring them behind that leg, and gently pull until you feel a nice stretch on the outside of your bent leg. This is our piriformis figure 4 stretch. And each of these stretches I want you to hold for 30 seconds. Alright, switching legs. Other leg up and over. Pull the back of that hamstring. Feel a nice deep stretch in that outer thigh. Into the bottom, into that glute. And that's our piriformis. Alright, next I'm going to have you take your hands out to the side. What you're going to do is take one knee up, cross it over, and turn your head in the opposite direction that your knee is going. And just hold this stretch here. And switching sides, bringing it up and over. Then I'm going to have you stretch that hamstring, actually the bicep femoris, back part of the hamstring. So you're going to take one leg up. Try and bring that knee as close to your chest as possible. And then extend the leg. You can pull right above the knee, right below the knee if that helps you. I like to get as close to my ankle as possible. My knee isn't completely locked out, but I'm trying to get it as straight as I possibly can. Just going to hold this stretch here. If you have a towel, you can put it around your foot. And try and bring it closer and closer. Alright, switching legs. So start with that knee, then extending. Alright, straddle stretch. So you can either do it like this or you can have your legs out in a full straddle. What you're going to do is take a deep breath in, let it out, and bring that chest forward towards the ground. We want to make sure our feet are turned back. We're not letting them fall forward. That would rotate our hip internally. When externally rotate that hip as we lean forward. Stretch the inside of the leg. You may want to know why we're stretching all of these muscles even though we're really working on the piriformis. A lot of these muscles play in together. If one area is not working to its full potential, the other muscles surrounding it are going to compensate. So that's why we have to work all of the muscles, stretch them all out in this area so that we can work on strengthening our piriformis eventually. That's coming next. Alright, and we're going to stretch our hip flexors. What we're going to do is come into a lunge. Back knees down, front knees forward. You're going to lean into it. Make sure you brace your core so you protect that low back. You don't want to hyperextend your back. You want to have a neutral spine as you do this. Then you're going to take the opposite arm of the leg that's forward and reach on over to the side. You should feel a stretch in that hip flexor. I'll do it from the front. So one foot forward, arm goes up, stretching over to the side. Okay. Again, making sure you're not leaning too far forward so you don't feel that stretch in that hip flexor. You want to keep that spine neutral. Just push forward with those hips and you'll feel a stretch in that hip flexor. Switching sides. All right, after you've stretched out, first foam rolled, then you stretch. Now we're going to isolate the glute and strengthen it, okay? So there are many different glute isolation exercises to do. I'm going to give you a couple. You can use a resistance band. That's really good for those glute isolation exercises. If you don't have one, you don't need one. You could do all these exercises without a resistance band. So, first one is going to be a clamshell exercise. It's going to have you put the resistance band right below the knee if you have one. If not, just come onto the side. And what you're going to do is working on lifting your leg up and out, so you can see, or you'll feel that the outside of your bottom of your glute is being activated for this exercise. Really great for the piriformis, working on strength. So you could do 15 of these, and then of course we have to move on to the other side. So switching sides, same thing. Up and out, your feet are together in the back. You're just working on lifting that knee up and out. You can also put the resistance band above the knee. Doesn't have to be below, just as long as it's not directly on the knee. All right, another exercise to target that glute. We don't necessarily need this for. It's going to be a hip extension on all fours. So shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. What you're going to do is take one foot up at 90 degrees and try and kick the sky with your heel, okay? Lifting up and kicking with the heel, okay? This is isolating that glute. You can do the other leg. You have to do the other leg as well. Suggest 15 of each of these exercises. We're using really low resistance and we're just working on strengthening that glute. So you can go high repetition on it. Okay, next we are going to do lateral walks with the band. So band, just put it right above the knee. And what you're going to do is walk out to the side and side. Another way to better isolate the side of the glute, putting it right below the ankles. And taking one foot and lifting it up, out, holding it just for a second and back down. So we're only bringing it about an inch or two off the ground till you feel that resistance in the band, and then bringing it back down. Okay, other side. Again, 10 to 15 of each of these. You can repeat them up to 3 times, these exercises. Now, not only can you do these kicks to the side, you can also work on doing them to the back. That's also going to help strengthen that glute. Again, we're lifting the toe an inch or two off the ground and dropping it back down. Okay, switching sides. I also have ankle weights. You could do all of these glute exercises with those weights around your ankles if you have those instead of a resistance band. Another exercise, glute bridge, coming down to the floor. Bring that resistance band up above the knee. You bring those heels as close to your bottom as possible, and you lift up, holding at the top, and coming back down. Okay, and you can do them with one leg at a time. Of course, you have to switch if you did one leg at a time. Just make sure you're holding it at the top and bracing that core. Last exercise that I'm going to give you for isolating that glute is going to be a half moon. So you start with the foot out to the back, and you lift it up and over to the side and back over, okay? Up and over and up and back, okay? Each, you have to go there and back, and that counts as 1 rep. Again, 10 to 15. On the other side, up and over. Up and over. Make sure you're squeezing that glute to help lift that leg up and over, all right? So that's our isolating, strengthening activities. Works on just that glute strength, okay? The last set of exercises are going to be integrative exercises. exercises that are going to work more than just the glute. Combination of the glute, hamstrings, quads, all the major muscles of the leg and the low back to kind of help strengthen that area around the piriformis. Once you've strengthened and isolated the glute, you can move on to adding other muscle groups so that they can all work together cohesively instead of overcompensating for that weak glute, okay? That weak piriformis. So, one exercise, you can use whatever you have, dumbbells, kettlebell, whatever you have, even water jugs. First one is going to be a deadlift. So, we're going to do a straight leg deadlift, keeping our legs pretty much straight. There's going to be a soft bend in the knee, just a micro bend. Arms are flat out in front of us. What you're going to do is tilt forward at the hips, keeping that back flat, and then squeezing that glute to lift you back up. Keeping that back flat on the way down, squeezing the glute on the way up. You can also do a deadlift one leg at a time. So you'll have one leg behind you, coming forward, dropping down. Try and keep those hips flat towards the ground. So you don't want to lift that hip up to the side. You want to keep them flat and lift up with that glute to help drive you up, okay? Next, you could do a curtsy lunge. So taking one leg, bringing it behind you. You can also add a twist to help engage that core, develop some core strength while you're performing the curtsy lunge. Hip thrusters, you're going to need something to lay your back on. So you could have a chair, whatever you really have around the house. You could do these on the back of your couch. So what you do is you put your shoulder blades on your chair, whatever you have. This isn't very high, but it'll work. And what you're going to do is do something similar to a glute bridge, but you're working on lifting those hips. It'll help that hip strength as well as glute strength. You can have weights on you if you'd like. That's why I was kind of standing like this. Whenever I do them, I have weights on me. So you can just lay those weights across your hips and work on driving up and back down, okay? For this exercise, you want to make sure those shoulder blades are resting on whatever surface you are on. You can also do side-stepping lunges. So if you have something that's a little bit elevated, a box, whatever you have in your house that's stable, that can hold your body weight, you can take it, squat on one side, jump up on over the ball, back down to the other side, okay? So that's going to work on the side of our glute, as well as our quad and hamstring strength. So, again, if you're working on getting rid of that piriformis pain, it's always start with the foam rolling. After we get those knots out, we move on to the stretching so that we can lengthen those muscles that were tightly coiled up. And then we can isolate and strengthen that piriformis and glute muscle. And then we integrate all of the muscles together to strengthen them all so that they all work cohesively as they're supposed to. So, you can follow these exercises to try and relieve some pain in the piriformis. Again, if the pain level is getting above that 8, I'd suggest seeking medical attention. This is really just for a little bit of discomfort that you feel in your day-to-day activities. This will help kind of alleviate that discomfort. So I'm Amber from Bank of America Tower, and I hope you guys enjoyed this piriformis corrective exercise routine.